In the last video, I explained that there are 8 key documents that you are supposed to submit to UCCIRB when you are applying for ethical clearance. And I made mention of application letters, background information, proposal, form consent forms, checklist, research instrument, aggregate CV for investigator and the supervisor if you are a student, and similarity report being the last document. And I took us through the uh, required information under each of them. We look at background information, proposal. Now we are going to look at the instructions under informed consent form, checklist. We'll skip research instruments and we'll talk about aggregate CV and similar report. So in this video, we're going to consider the informed consent forms, checklist, aggregate CV for the investigator and the supervisor, and then similarity report. The reason why I'm skipping the research instrument is that you as a researcher, you understand the kind of data that you want. So that will depend on the researcher or the investigator, whether you are going to use a questionnaire, a interview guide, or focus group, whatever. So that will depend on the kind of information that you want. So let's look at the specific instructions under informed consent form. Under informed consent form, there are 3 main types that the UCCIRB requires that you have in your protocol that you are submitting for ethical clearance. The first one is a informed consent for adults. So if you are collecting data on adults or people who are adults, this is the informed consent that you are supposed to have in your protocol. You have to provide the instructions. So under the informed consent for adult, it is in 2 parts. The part one is the information sheet, and then the part two is voluntary agreement. The part two is volunteers agreement or voluntary agreement. So over here, it is for the participant to feel that I have agreed to take part in your study. So let's look at the requirements under part one of the informed consent for adults. Before I go ahead, please note when you are filling the informed consent, you should avoid the use of technical language or jargon. Aha. So you ensure that your information that you are putting or your writing will be simple for even the layman to understand. So the first uh, information or requirement is the title of the research. So you write the title in your column, you put the title of your research, and then you write your name, even as a principal investigator, and your address. The first important uh, of the informed consent for adults is the general information about the research. So the general information about research, you provide an information about you, the researcher, a brief introduction. Then you state the purpose of the study or the objective. Uh, that's order. Then you move to procedures. So all of this, you give them headings. So you write general information about research. Then come down to bring up information. So these are instructions that will guide you on the kind of information that you are going to bring under general information about research. Then procedures. So these are the instructions which is going to guide you on the information that you have to bring under procedures. So for example, if you are using a questionnaire to collect your data, so you start by saying to find answers to the questions in the questionnaire, or you mention the type of instrument that you are using. We invite you to take part in this research project. If you accept, you'll be required to then continue with the information. Uh-huh. So we have an instruction for focus group distraction, instruction for in-depth interviews. So you ensure that you provide all those information. Then when you come down, the next item or the next section should be possible risks and discomforts. So you have to describe if there are any foreseeable risks in the study or any discomfort in the study to the participant, not you, the researcher, or in any way, the focus should be on the participants. And if there are possible risks, you write them and then how you are going to ensure that those risks are dealt with. Then possible benefits will be the next session. Possible benefit. So what are the benefits to the participants? Okay, what are the benefits? We will state the benefits to the participants, the researcher, and the society. The expected benefit or reasonable expected benefit. Then alternatives to participation. This session does not apply to all studies, and mostly it's usually applied or it is applied for intervention studies, or if you are doing an experimental study, then you have to provide the information and alternatives to participation. But if you are carrying a non-interventional study, then you don't have to worry about this session. Move on to the next one, which is confidentiality. So you read the instruction under confidentiality and provide the information. You talk about how you ensure the confidential, the anonymity and the confidentiality of the participant, the kind of information that they are giving you, how you ensure it will be in a safe hands or it will be safeguarded. Then move on to the next section, compensation. Are you going to compensate them after taking part in the study? If you are, you provide information. If you are not, you also indicate so that they will understand that, oh, as I'm filling this questionnaire, I'll be given this, I'll be given that. Oh, as I'm filling this questionnaire, even though I'll be appreciated by word of mouth, but I'll not be given anything in the form of cash or material. So we are also expected to provide information there. Additional cost. The additional cost does not apply to all studies. So you can decide to skip that one. Staying in the research also does not apply to the research, does not apply to all studies, but mostly it applies to interventional studies. So if you are doing an experimental study, you have to provide information at additional cost and stay in the research. Voluntary participation and right to leave the research. Yes, it is also very important. You have to tell the participant that the research that you are conducting it is voluntary and it is not a coercion. So willingly, if he or she is ready or accept to take part, then you give the informed consent to the person to fill. Termination of participation by the researcher. So you also read the instructions and provide the information, but it does not apply to all studies. It does not apply to all studies. Notification of significant new finding. Notification of significant news findings. So read the instructions, provide the information, but it does not apply to all studies. Contact for additional information. This one you have to bring it to provide it. You bring the heading and then provide the information. Who is on the instruction under it? Contact for ethical review board. So this one information has been provided. So you just copy paste in the work. Right. So the next part of the informed consent for adult is volunteers agreement. Volunteers agreement. So you have to copy this and paste it in your work, and then you fill in your title over here. How? And you bring this one as well. So whoever agrees to take part in the study will have to provide his or her details over here. The person cannot read for themselves. A witness must sign here. So we also repeat this in the work and give this one to the one who is witnessing for the one participating in the study. That's one. Then child assent form. So just as I've explained in the informed consent for adults, it's the same here under the child assent form. Right. This time around, these ones are for the minors. If your participants are minor, then you don't fill the informed consent for adults, but you let your focus be on child assent forms. Then you bring the information. These are the requirements. You read the requirements and bring the right information. So introduction. So just as the instruction says, my name is so so and so. I'm conducting a study so and so. So this will guide you on the kind of information that you should bring. Uh, then the next part of the informed consent, the next type of informed consent is informed consent form for those seeking information from records. So if you are solely taking information from records, or if your data that you are collecting is secondary data, this is this will be the informed consent that you have to fill. So you read the instructions and bring the information. If you're able to meet all these requirements and provide the information rightly, the board will just give you the clearance. It is going to help you to get approval any as early as possible. As early as possible. So the next document that we look at is checklist. Checklist. As for the checklist, the template is there already. So you just have to tick yes or no or not applicable based on the question that you read or based on the statement. So first of all, you bring the name of the principal investigator. So if you are Kofi, you bring your Kofi. Then the title of your research, you bring it. So depending on the study that you are doing and the kind of data that you are going to take, this is a template for you to tick yes or no or not applicable based on the study that you are conducting. So if, for instance, your population is vulnerable, then you take yes. You take yes. If they are not vulnerable, you take no, or if they are not applicable at all, you just take not applicable in that order. So you read the questions. If it is applicable to your study, you take yes or no. If it's not applicable, you just take not applicable. Not applicable. So the next document is the CV. So after the checklist, the next document that you're supposed to bring is the data collection instrument, which is going to be provided by the researcher or the investigator. So whether you are using questionnaire or interview, you should bring your interview guide or questionnaire, the work that you are submitting to IRB for ethical grounds. Then under the aggregate CV, we don't want, these are the information that we want. So the first one is name. You bring your name, your address, your telephone number, your mobile, fax, or email, educational background, employment records, major research projects, recent publications, membership of professional bodies. Some of them, if you don't have the information, just indicate no publications or no recent publications. And then take note, should not be the CV should not be more than 2 pages. Should not be more than 2 pages. Some of the applicants, when they submit their work to UCCIRB, their CVs alone takes about 35 pages. So this is what we want you to follow, so that at the end of the day you fall within 1 or 2 pages or even three. That'll be fine. So finally, I want to draw attention to this again. The document that we are submitting, the name is full study protocol, which is a single document, and that single document or that full study protocol should should capture issues on application letters. So if you are a student, you present 3 letters. You, the principal investigator, your letter that you need ethical grounds, the supervisor supporting letter, and then HOD's letter. Then your background information will follow, the proposal will follow, the form consent forms will follow, checklist, research instrument, aggregate CV for the investigator and the supervisor if you are a student. And then the last aspect is similarity report. Now the similarity report, some of the applicants, one of the things that we have identified is that when they run the Turnitin check for the document, for the proposal, they insert that document or they submit that document, which is wrong. We want to see only the final result. So the page that shows the percentages, the percentage and the sources, you just screenshot or take a picture of that page and then insert it in the work after the series or before the series. Any of them are good to go. So the last thing is, please note all documents must be paged separately and put together as one Word document for submission. Thank you for your time.